Wow, so it's finally here, people. It is finally here. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean, aka JoJo's Part 6, has finally began. Netflix just did a 12-episode drop of the first 12 of the season, and man, people, it took the internet by storm at the very least, because over on Twitter, it was trending non-stop the day it dropped, and it's still the topic of conversation. Everybody's going crazy over JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean, and I love to see it. I'm not gonna lie, I'll never forget 10 years ago plus, back before the JoJo's anime began with the big new production by David Productions, and JoJo's was just like one of those things like, oh yeah, it'll probably never get animated because a lot of what the creator Araki, you know, him using names of popular bands and all that jazz, there's too much copyright limbo for them to actually do it. But fast forward 2021 and we got Marilyn Manson up in this joint because yeah, they went full blown. Now obviously there's been a few name changes due to copyright stuff, but nevertheless I was just so thrilled. I've been talking about it on ForneverWorld News ever since we got the announcement that it was coming to Netflix, and thankfully the way they did it is really dope as well, because don't get me wrong, I would have loved to have the entirety of it, however many episodes, whether it's going to be 36, 40, whatever it is, I would have loved to have it all, but at the very least it's still really dope that we got a 12 episode drop, because boom, instead of having to wait each week and watch an episode, I love to marathon JoJo's, I love to watch JoJo's straight up in big bulks, and a 12 episode drop, I'm rocking with that. Again, it's not the most ideal, but it's more ideal for me than a weekly grind of each episode. On top of that, it's not any type of spoilers unless of course the manga, but we got a whole big batch, and bam, there's a lot to talk about. For starters, we gotta talk about Jotaro Cujoh. We gotta talk about some of the stuff regarding the potential conversation that, I don't even think it's a potential, I think it's a conversation to be had regarding the nerfing of Jotaro Cujoh. We gotta talk about how Araki understood the assignment when he created Jolyne Cujoh greatness. We gotta talk about some of the side characters that are there with her, Guest, Foo Fighters, Hermes. Like there's a lot to be said. The fact that the main villain is once again, like I've always said, connected to dun, 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 Dio Brando. Man, that's just, my god, I don't want to waste your time, people. Let's jump into it. Let's talk a little bit of that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean greatness. Let's do it, people.
No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done.
Okay, people, so to give you a brief synopsis of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean, basically the main character, Jolyne Cujoh, is seemingly framed for running someone over and murdering them in cold blood, and ultimately sentenced to 15 years in a Florida state penitentiary in the US, and essentially she is the daughter of legendary Part 3 Stardust Crusader star Jotaro Cujoh, and yeah, here we are, fam. There's a lot more to it, but let's disperse something real quick for newbies that are like, well, can I jump into JoJo's? I always recommend watch it from the very beginning. Don't skip a part. Don't listen to, oh, part 1 isn't. No, watch it from the beginning. You will have a blast. Some parts are better than others, but nevertheless, every part is integral, because one main factor remains throughout every single part that always goes back to, there is a character that, even though each iteration has a different MC, ultimately there's a character that still is something in common with every part, and is somewhat of a catalyst to each part as well, Dio Brando. So I always encourage, go watch the beginning if you must. If you're like, no, but I really want to get in on the hype, I suppose you could jump in, I guess, at Stone Ocean. I mean, I don't have a gun right here to say, no, you better not do it, but you might be lost. You might not understand what the heck a stand ability is. Obviously, you're not going to get all the references and how, you know, integral a lot of things from previous parts are to this, but the main character, Jolyne Cujoh, is a reason that I ain't gonna lie, if I was somebody that was like, man, that kind of looks cool, I would want to jump in at this point just because Jolyne Cujoh looks so freaking awesome. But I still would say and highly encourage you, just start it from the beginning. But within the prison walls of this Florida state penitentiary, Jolyne is going through it because there's a lot of, you know, psychos. Honestly, one of the things that now looking back, I'm like, holy cow, I'm almost 100% certain that the manga Dead Man Wonderland had to have been inspired by this slightly at the very least. Now obviously this isn't the first series to ever be written about somebody being falsely in prison, but it just feels a lot of elements of like, boom, main character falsely in prison for something they didn't do. They go to this jail and people have these wacky powers and you don't know who to trust. There's betrayal, all sorts of stuff. It just feels like switch out Jolyne and make her like Deku, put Deku inside of a prison, and that's kind of what Dead Man Wonderland did with its story and made it more so focused on blood, even though there is a particular portion of a big battle where blood is somewhat involved. But yeah, I was watching this and I'm like, holy cow, I could see that more than likely there was some inspiration taken from this part to create Dead Man Wonderland. And you're probably thinking, but Dead Man Wonderland came out like 10 years ago. What are you talking about? Obviously, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 6 was written quite a while ago. I want to say early 2000s, if I'm not mistaken, late 90s, early 2000s, following Part 5. It came out. So yeah, Dead Man Wonderland was inspired by this. And then now we're getting the anime adaptation all these years later. But I ain't gonna lie, fam. I gotta talk about it for starters as a JoJo for these first 12 episodes, because I'm not a manga reader. I don't know what happens after this one, but for these first 12 episodes as a JoJo, where does Jolyne stack up against a lot of her predecessors? Y'all know that I'm very, or maybe you don't know, I'm not sure, but I'm very, biased to Joseph Joestar. He was just a legend, whether it be the young Joseph from his part back in Battle Tendency, or even old Joseph. I don't know about really old Joseph. That's when, like, you know, when he started getting senile and barely talked. At that point, I was kind of like, okay, he's not really my favorite anymore, like, you know, at that stage. But Joseph has still, to this particular point, still been my favorite, you know, Joestar, because, like, Jonathan, he's he's really just a classic, hey, I'm a good guy at heart no matter what type of character. So Jonathan, he's Joseph, like I said, legendary, one of my favorites. Jotaro, he's been in a lot of parts as far as, like, because he was just so freaking popular back in the day. That's why even, you know, this part is about his daughter and stuff like that. But Jotaro, he's a cool one. I wouldn't say he's my favorite, but he's up there. Then Josuke was really awesome. I love the whole thing about his hair and, you know, his past and all that jazz. Josuke was pretty dope. He was a delinquent as well. That was kind of cool. Giorno, he was honestly, he wasn't like my favorite either. He was he was cool. I feel like the cast around him were so freaking strong that it was like, I probably would have preferred Bushiardi to be the main character of, you know, Part 5. I just gotta say there. And then you got Jolyne Cujoh, that embodies somewhat of the badassery of her father, Jotaro, but at the same time packs her own personality and is more vocal than her father ever was. So Jolyne is up there right now. I'd gotta say it's Joseph at number 1 for me. Ooh, it's between Jotaro and Josuke for number 2, and then Jolyne is somewhere around there. I'd probably even, it really depends honestly on what the next set of episodes go of where I will put Jolyne, but she's up there because, fam, from what I've seen so far of her in this prison and her stand ability, this thread and whatnot, it's just really dope. Like, she's a really awesome character. Her aesthetic alone, her character design, I'm not talking from a horny standpoint, I'm just saying, like, as far as really Araki understood the assignment, okay? Araki understood the task at hand of how to make a really badass looking character. She looks like straight up she's about to go on a Gucci runway and pose for their latest collection or something, because her design just looks so freaking intricate and awesome. And within this part so far, we got a few different characters that are like her crew or whatever you would say. There's Gwess, which Gwess is not really a part of the Integral 3. I thought she would be at first, but then she kind of just like fell to the back burner. Gwess was the one that, if I'm not mistaken, shrunk Jolyne. That's her stand ability. She's but she's basically like a Jolyne fangirl to a certain degree, and it even takes to a point where Jolyne is like, any chance I get to get some rec, some exercise to get the hell away from Gwess, I'm gonna take it. So Gwess was but she was just a little bit of a slime ball. But then again, majority of the people in here are slime balls. Even Hermes, like, I really rock with Hermes, but you saw in the beginning she maybe could have come across a little bit shady, but Hermes is probably second best right after Jolyne, because then there's Foo Fighters, and Foo Fighters was obviously that creature that now is embodying the body of that dead girl or whatever. So Foo Fighters is cool too, but hands down is Jolyne, then Hermes, and Foo Fighters is and Gwess is just like, again, like, fangirl of Jolyne. And like I said earlier, we do have some involvement of Jotaro because this is his daughter, and him coming down, it's sad a lot of the time. Now I think about it, yo, the Joestar family, one major thing that a lot of them have in common is the fact that they suck as parents. Like, yo, they actually really suck. Like, okay, let's go all the way back to Jonathan. I mean, you can't really say he sucked because he died, but, you know, technically he wasn't there for his son, and then of course his grandson Joseph, but you can't really blame him, you can't fault him for that, so I'm not gonna say that. But then part 2, Joseph, he cheated on his woman. He was, you know what I'm saying, like, too old to be there for Josuke, because Josuke was essentially a bastard child and stuff like that. So yeah, Joseph, not the greatest at all, actually somewhat of a scumbag. Then you go to part 3 with Jotaro, and we see that in this part is explained that he kind of sucked as well. Like, he was never really there for his daughter. Every time she would get in some trouble, he was like, fam, I got something to do in Tokyo, I got somewhere to be, I cannot do this right now, you handle the bitch, and would hang up on her, and that would be the end of it. So Jotaro, somewhat in common with Joseph, you know what I'm saying? Like, his grandfather grandfather. Him and them, I don't know, it's a common bond that they have of kind of being shitty parents, I guess you would say. And then Josuke would never seen, obviously, if he had a child. Likewise with Giovanna, we didn't see if he had a child either, but I wouldn't be surprised if they turned out to be shitheads as well, because yeah, some of the Joestar bloodline, they suck. And then of course Dio Brando, I guess if you would technically, because you know he did have Jonathan's body, you know, he was a piece of shit and wasn't there for Giorno either. So yeah, there's that. Also, I gotta note that because again, this whole thing takes place in Florida, in a Florida state penitentiary. I think it's called Green Dolphin Street Penitentiary or something like that. That sounds believable. Yo, what does Charlemagne the God say? Most of the craziest people in the world come from the Bronx and all of Florida. Yeah, when he was saying all of Florida, he was talking about part 6 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. He must really be in tune with the culture or something, because yeah, I could see this happening down in Florida, raining freaking poisonous frogs and people with crazy abilities, making gravity go and blood and threads, and yeah, that sounds about Florida. Shout out to Florida, no disrespect, but y'all be a little cray-cray down there sometimes, I'm just saying. And going a little bit more into Jotaro's role in all of this, because essentially he was put in this because of course, you know, that's his daughter, but then as he shows up to the prison, one thing that I do gotta note, and we do gotta talk about it, is that, and this has not been the first example of this, we saw this already a couple of different times, but especially in part 4, he's been nerfed. Yo fam, this is something that we go through on a weekly basis over in the Boruto series, the fact that once you're not the MC anymore, they gotta nerf you down, especially if you become god tier like how Jotaro was, like Naruto was, because I felt, I'm not even gonna lie, like almost deja vu while I was watching this part, or the first, you know, 12 episodes of this part of Stone Ocean JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I was like, fam, it's Boruto all over again for me, because again, you know, I'm experiencing this for the first time, because Jotaro was like a god, fam. His abilities, he surpassed Dio, like everything that he could do with his stand and whatnot. It was just, Star Platinum became absolutely hacked, and I get it. It was said in part 4 that he was rusty, essentially. He hasn't used his stand ability since the battle with Dio. So yeah, there's that excuse to a certain degree, but come on, fam. No amount of rust should put you at the point where like, yo, you getting stomped out, and just in general, like going even to this part in Stone Ocean, it was like, what the hell is going on, fam? Like Jotaro's getting bested by, like, I don't even know, that there was that one episode where they're in the room, the interrogation room, and the guard gets shot, and then it looks like there's just a giant jizz monster that is taking them down in the entire room, and I'm like, what has happened to my silent badass of a bulking man known as Jotaro Cujoh? How is he getting put down in the jizz cell? So I was just kind of like, man, Star Platinum definitely got nerfed to a certain degree, and it's to be expected, but it really was reminding me of what we go through in Naruto, especially some of the latest stuff, which I don't really want to get into because we're talking about JoJo's right now. But yeah, in Boruto, Naruto has been nerfed, and it's clear as day in Stone Ocean, Jotaro has been nerfed as well. Thankfully, it's not the same situation, because Jotaro, even when he appeared in part 4, every time he's appeared since the end of part 3, he's only briefly shown, and then they kind of just remove him out of there. So it'll be like a moment of, wow, he's kind of nerfed, and then that's it. We don't have to be reminded each and every episode of, damn, my dude is nerfed. Although I guess seeing the CDs that have, you know, Star Platinum on it is always a nice stark reminder of, oh man, our man's is getting mollywopped out here, fam. Which, by the way, I want to add in there that my own interpretation of seeing the constant usage of CDs, because that's one of the big things that Pale Snake, which I want to say is supposed to be White Snake, but Pale Snake with the whole CDs and whatnot, I'm guessing maybe that was Araki's homage and just nod to, at that time, the CD era, because yeah, that's like a really big deal, the compact disc that is inside of each person's head, which one of them is the stand and one of them is their memories and whatnot. And yeah, when I saw that, I was like, well, I know that Araki is a major fan of music, and he loves music, especially from all over the world, which I think that's more so another reason why I rock with JoJo so heavy, because I can relate to that. I love music too. Like, it's anime, manga, and music. Like that's some of my biggest passions and things that I love and appreciate. And yeah, that's probably what Araki was going for with the constant usage of those CDs throughout everything in the show so far. And I know I'm all over the place again, but going back to the whole thing with the comparisons to Dead Man Wonderland, I just thought that, holy cow, now that I think about it, even the whole lawyer scene, the lawyer setting her up and everything, that straight up goes from JoJo's, that goes to Stone Ocean. So Dead Man Wonderland definitely took a lot of inspiration from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 6 Stone Ocean. But a good crux of what we had so far with these first 12 episodes was essentially Jolyne getting falsely obviously in prison, getting set up by this guy, Pale Snake, aka, I want to say his name was actually said Poochie, but forgive me if it wasn't. But yeah, it seems as though that was one of the big cruxes of it. And then after Jotaro got basically nerfed upon his arrival at the prison, the remainder of the episodes that we had was Jolyne trying to retrieve Jotaro's memory CD and Jotaro's stand CD Star Platinum. And yeah, it's just been a wacky ride. A lot of what you would expect from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, a lot of bizarre stuff. Also, that little kid with the baseball emporium, I want to say, that was kind of interesting. I have my suspicions, but I don't want to jump into spoiler territory in case somebody's gonna be like, hey, let me tell you exactly what it is. But I have my suspicions on what's going on with that kid with the baseball emporium. And then also, I'll say that kind of felt a little sudden and abrupt when we get the introduction after Emporium leads Jolyne into that side ghost room of, oh hey, by the way, there's these two other dudes, Weather Report and the dude that looks like the villain from part 5 all over again. I'm like, oh, okay. And then Weather Report gets busted down shortly after in that big battle against the dude with the gravity stand. I'm so tempted to say Quirk, forgive me. My Hero Academia in my brain right now. And then seemingly the big villain of this whole thing, I love, and this is why I always say, don't skip no parts of JoJo's, the fact that yet again it goes back to Dio Brando. People always be like, oh, Yoshikage Kira is the greatest of JoJo's. Like, yes, he was awesome. There's no denying that. I love JoJo's in general, and majority of the villains are freaking amazing, but there's nobody as iconic and nobody as integral, nobody as much of a catalyst to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure as Dio Brando. Every single part, he had a hand in what the hell is going on. From, of course, part 1, him stealing the mask. Part 2, the Pillar Men is because of what he did with the mask. Part 3, his return. It just continues on and on. Each and every part, there's some reasoning behind, oh, it was Dio Brando yet again. You know, the spear, everything. And then in this one, now it's his apprentice that really looked up to him. And that's why he did what he did to begin with, because he was worshiping Dio, similar to how a lot of us JoJo's fans feel like. Yo, it's just so dope that Dio Brando yet again manages to sneak his way back in. Not like we didn't just have all of part 5, his son, you know, rocking shit out, but now he's back yet again, this time around because of this dude that worship him, that is the main villain of things. And I ain't gonna lie, it is a little different with this part opposed to the other one, simply because the setting, we are locked down to this prison in Florida. We got a couple of times here or there, like, okay, when we went on that mission to find the people and, you know, they were outside, like, they go outside here and there, similar to, you know, recreational stuff in jail or whatnot, of them getting to go out and exercise or whatever. So there's the small instances of them leaving, but it definitely feels more trapped in, again, opposed to some of the other parts where, you know, part 3, we're going all over the freaking globe and stuff like that. So this one, that's one of the big differences that changes it and makes it feel a slight less like a, you know, standard JoJo part of like, yo, we're going all over Italy, we're going all over the world. Like, no fam, we're going to the cell to see the dude with his boxers backwards. And yes, people, that was actually a thing. There's a dude with his pants on backwards. But honestly, I ain't gonna lie, so far these 12 episodes, I am absolutely loving the living crap out of Stone Ocean. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 6. Jolyne Cujoh is epic. Hermes is, again, probably second favorite of the characters that were introduced. Wes was I, but a little too clingy on that Jolyne. Jolyne's mine, fam, I. And Foo Fighters is I. Foo Fighters just seems more like, I don't know, think of like a Mitsuki from Boruto or some shit. That's kind of something that I could resonate, that doesn't really understand human interaction because they're not a real, you know, person to begin with. And the main villain, like, so far he's been alright. It's very interesting. He's like a Kotomine from Fate Stay Night. Like, dude is a pastor that is doing all this dastardly messed up stuff, and again connected to Dio Brando. Also, the nerfing of Jotaro yet again. I wonder, like, is this the worst example so far we've seen of him being nerfed after part 3? Like, you know, part 4 we had some stuff or whatever, but like, I feel like this is one of the times where it's just like, god damn, fam, look what they did to our boy. They massacred our boy, fam. But I ain't gonna lie, I am extremely curious what you guys think so far of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean Part 6. If you haven't seen it, go watch JoJo's, fam. Go watch it from the beginning, or if you're that really intrigued, go watch this badass named Jolyne Cujoh. You're gonna get spoiled on a whole bunch of stuff, but hey, if it gets you to get into JoJo's, why not? And if you are watching it, if you're an anime only, how you feeling? Any theories, predictions? If you're a manga reader, what do you think about the adaptation so far? I don't think there's going to be anybody that's going to scream anything bad about the adaptation, minus, again, you know, they got to change names around, I guess you would say, because, you know, copyright issues. So I think White Snake is transferred to like Pale Snake, like we're reading it says Pale Snake, so stuff like that. And then there's Marilyn Manson, it's Mary Lynn Manson. So they're trying their best to work their way around some of these copyright issues, because Araki, again, he loves using references from bands and stuff like that. And just in general, your thoughts on Stone Ocean, fam? I can't even believe we've gotten to this day. Netflix, I like this. I like having a nice bulk of 12 instead of watching, you know, one a week or waiting until the very end. Like, yeah, give me my nice 12, boom. Hopefully we get it maybe by February, March, the next 12. I'll rock with that. Let's do it. Your overall thoughts and expectations for how this is all going to play out. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Jolyne Cujoh, can't stress enough, she might go down as one of my, I don't know if she'll ever surpass Joseph because he's just too iconic for me, but she could go to number 2. She could definitely pass Jotaro and Josuke for number 2 slot. I'll give her that because she's awesome, man. Everything about it, she's just sick. Who is more nerfed, Jotaro after part 3 or Naruto during Boruto? But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links are in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day, and remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life. Bye. Have an awesome day, peace in, and for the one time, baby, until the next batch of episodes, Jolyne Cujoh greatness. Damn, they really nerfed Jotaro. I know people are gonna attack the living crap out of me. He's rusty, yada yada. He's still catching a lot of L's, fam. Why? Have an awesome day. Yes, I know. Naruto's catching a lot of L's too. Join the club. The Nerf Club.
So just